IGCSE Business Studies Paper 1, March 2020, the whole paper solved. Part A asks define dismissal. So we just need 2 knowledge points for this. We don't need to refer to the case study or explain further. To get the full definition marks, you need to explain the business ends the employment, and then you have to say why the business would end the employment. So I've gone for when an employee is fired by a business because their work or behavior is not up to standard. Part B also doesn't require application. There's just 2 knowledge points there, 2 marks, so we just need to give 2 distribution channels. I've given wholesaler and retailer, but you could also have selling directly to consumers or using an agent. For part C, we do have to go to the case study because it mentions HSN, the business, and we need to explain 2 possible problems of many employees leaving. By quickly looking at the case study, I can see their production company that make breakfast cereals. So we can say if many employees leave, this will cause disruption to the production of breakfast cereals. We can also see that one of the issues that the company has is dealing with solving communication barriers. So if managers have to recruit new employees, this will mean that they can't spend as much time dealing with this problem, reducing communication barriers. For the next question, for each point, language and medium of communication, we need 1 knowledge point, 1 application or referring to the case study, and 1 analysis, which is further developing the knowledge point. So for language causing a communication barrier, you could have using jargon, but I've gone for technical language. They're using batch production, so that means that employees may not understand the message. Medium of communication is more straightforward. So communication barrier can be caused by the wrong channel being used. We use information from the case study. The 600 employees may not be able to access the message if they send it by email, as all workers may not have access to a computer. In this question, you have 2 knowledge marks where you identify a relevant point. You have 2 explanation marks where you have to develop and explain this a little bit further. And then finally, you've got 2 evaluation points. The application only comes in for the evaluation. You need to explain why one would be better than the other for a large business. A simple structure you can use, which I often recommend, is the yes because, no because. So in this case, no because external recruitment will be more expensive, and the explanation is that it's going to increase costs. Then yes because the business might have no choice because there's no suitable internal applicants. There may also be ideas which could increase the efficiency. We finish off with an evaluation where we make a decision and we explain why the choice of external in this case is better than internal, but you could choose internal being better than external as long as you justify and you make that justification in context, which is for a large business. So although it's a higher cost, external recruitment will be better as it results in an appointment of a manager whose cost savings will soon outweigh the cost of external recruitment. Just to make it really obvious, we're referring to a large business. We say, especially in a large business where there's much more opportunity for cost savings. Part A, we're back to our definition. So we just need 2 knowledge points. As the firm increases in size, you get lower average costs. For X and Y, there's just 2 marks, so we don't need to show our working out here. We just need to figure out the figure X, which is net cash flow, which we're going to get from taking away the cash out from the cash in. So 400 for the first one. For Y, the cash out, you find out by taking the net cash flow from cash in, and you get 2,400. Part C is 4 marks with 2 factors, and the question asks what factors Gomez should consider when looking for a source of finance for a new van. So that means we need to put in application or a reference to the case study for each factor, along with the knowledge point identifying a relevant point. So we can use information from the cash flow forecast. The closing balance is $600. He needs to know how much the van will cost. That will have an impact because he only has $600 available. We can also use the fact that he's a sole trader. So because he's a small business, it may be viewed as a higher risk. For part D, we're on to a classic IGCSE Business Studies question. the advantage and disadvantage of being a sole trader. So we need a knowledge point for the advantage or disadvantage, then we need to apply it to the case study, and we need to explain. So the most classic advantage to being a sole trader is that you get to keep all the profit. You apply it to the case study. Gomez has a painting business, so he gets to keep all of the money, all the profits from the business. Then for a sole trader, you have unlimited liability. So that means for Gomez, if he can't pay his suppliers in 1 month, which is the application it's mentioned in the case study, he could lose his personal possessions. Part E, there's no reference to Gomez in the question, just a reference to a small business. So your application, just like in the first Part E question, is going to come in your evaluation when you apply your decision to a small business. Let's use the yes because, no because structure to start with. So yes because there'll be no need to borrow, so the interest does not increase his cash outflows, but no because customers may be unwilling or unable to pay more quickly. For the evaluation, we make the decision that because it's a small business, it may be better to ask suppliers because it's more important to keep his customers rather than risk losing them by asking them to pay more quickly. Okay, halfway there. If you want to see the full past paper solutions where you can download, just go to the website CAIEbusiness.com, check in the description below. Okay, let's get back into action. For the Part A definition question for globalization, I've gone for the increase in worldwide trade and the increased movement of people. But you could also have free movement of people and capital between countries, or even just the process of countries becoming more interconnected to get those 2 points. But I'd always recommend go for 2 clear points for the definition. For this B question, asking for 2 advantages of quality assurance, I've gone for reduced waste and fewer customer complaints. But you could have had that it encourages teamwork, increases brand image, or reduces inspection costs. Part C is when we bring in our application. So we need to explain why the VKW will be affected by import controls. So it's going to be more expensive to import, and that's at a time when VKW is trying to reduce total costs. The case study also states that VKW use just-in-time inventory control. So import controls which slow down or prevent the components arriving could have a large impact on production if they're using just-in-time because they don't have any inventory in storage. Part D asks us to elaborate on just-in-time and give 1 advantage and 1 disadvantage. So here we need the knowledge, application, and the explanation. So for the disadvantage, we could take that pretty much straight from what we discussed in the last question. The parts may not arrive on time, especially this is your application, especially as they are imported, which will cause production delays. However, the big advantage of just-in-time is the lower storage costs. So we put in our application, there's a smaller warehouse will be needed, if a warehouse at all is needed, to store the mobile phone parts, which will help to reduce the total costs. Part E asks if businesses should be concerned about ethical issues such as child labor. Now, there's no reference here at all to VKW, large businesses, small businesses, so there's no need to put application in this answer, but you'll see that I've put in application anyway just to cover all bases. So if we start with the yes because and no because, yes because being ethical may improve the brand image, so it will improve sales because more people want to buy their products. The no because being ethical will increase costs. So for example, if they have to pay higher wages to the employees. So for the evaluation, really all you need is, although short-term profits may fall in the long term, this could be outweighed by the additional revenue. But because there's no hints in the case study which are leading us to any kind of conclusion, I've qualified the evaluation by saying it depends on how much cell phone customers make decisions on the basis of ethics. Okay, question 4, we are now on the home straight. So you'll be getting the hang of the structure by this stage. Part A, definition, 2 knowledge points. So market research is the process of gathering, analyzing, interpreting information about the market. Part B, 2 objectives other than expansion a business might have. I've chosen survival and making a profit, but you could also have providing a service to the community, giving value to shareholders, or increasing market share. Part C uses a slightly different structure. There's no application required here, just 4 knowledge points. The key here is not to repeat yourself because it can be a little bit tricky coming up with 4 different factors to consider. So I've gone for competitors' pricing, the stage in the product life cycle, the cost of production, and business objectives. So it's 4D already before we have to start using the case study in this question, so we get our knowledge point, our application, and explanation for both. I've gone for the cost of introducing the new technology and used 120 locations as the application to introduce into all these supermarkets. And for the other factor, the question is how much efficiency will they get in return for that investment? And how will that impact how they can lower the prices of food? 4E, the final question, might be a bit of a surprise for some students because it asks about whether selling franchises is a better way for a retail business to expand. Normally, we would associate franchises with fast food restaurants like McDonald's or KFC, for example. But we answer the first part of this question exactly as you would with a question about any kind of franchise. We give the yes because, no because. So franchises will help pay for the startup costs, which reduce the amount of capital that the business has to raise. No because the issue of control. So the franchisor may lose control of the shops, which damages the reputation. We don't have to make reference to WFG, but we do have to make reference for a retail business. Is selling franchises a good way of expanding rather than opening up its own shops? So we can say they should sell franchises as this will reduce costs, especially if it wants to open a large number of shops quickly. Okay, that is IGCSE Paper 1 2020 done. Woohoo! If you've liked what you've seen, give me a thumbs up, subscribe or leave a comment. And if you want to see some more, you can check out the Paper 1 Survival Guide up here and the Paper 2 Survival Guide here. See you next time.